Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back to another exciting day of mathematics with Mr. Gorg. Today, I will be explaining how we multiply decimals with whole numbers, decimal with decimals. But before that, we are going to do some review of multiplying whole numbers with whole numbers. All right. So this is Unit 4, or the beginning of it. And yesterday, you should have already gone through the vocabulary and learned everything that we are going to be discussing or talking about in Unit 4. All right. So 2 days ago, you should have already taken Unit 3 CUA. If you hadn't done so, make sure you go click onto the link that I'm providing or I've provided, all right, for you to take the CUA. All right. So let's begin. All right. So today's I can statement is I can represent multiplication of decimal numbers using object pictures, area models to the hundreds. All right. So today we're just going to be focusing just on the numbers. Okay. We need to get that out of our system first and understand it before we get into pictures. Okay. All right. So what do we know about multiplication? When we multiply numbers, we know that we group numbers together and we can use repeated addition and add our numbers so we can get a product. Okay? When we multiply numbers, we know that we take two factors, we multiply them together, and we get a product. So I'm going to do some side by side here. So I'm going to do whole numbers with whole numbers. I'm going to multiply decimal numbers with whole numbers, and I'm going to multiply decimal numbers with decimal numbers. So you can see what they look like side by side. Now I'm going to use the same digits, okay, but they're going to have different values. Okay, let's start with, well, I have 12 times 6. Yeah, 12 times 6. Now this is something we probably could do mentally using mental math, but let's work out the problems. I have 2 times 6 is 12. I'll write 2 down, and I'll raise the 1. Okay? 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 72. Okay? We know this. All right? This is not news. Now, these are whole numbers, and they stay that way. And we're satisfied with our answer. Now, what happens when the number, or one of these numbers, have a decimal in it? What does it look like? Let's see. So I'm going to have 1 and 2/10 times 6. When we work out these problems, we are going to pretend the decimal is not there. Okay? We're going to worry about that after we get a product. Okay? So we go through the same process. We say 6 times 2 is 12. We'll put 2 down. Right? We raise our 1. Okay? We'll say 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. We're not done because there's a next step we need to take. We need to give credit, okay, to our decimal and the digit behind it. There is one digit after our decimal. We need to make sure that in our answer, there's also one digit after that decimal, right? And we put it right there. Now, the digits are the same, right? But they have different values, right? Let's go one more step further, okay? 1 and 2/10 times 6/10, right? Now, remember the same digits, 1 and 2 and 6, okay? We'll go through the same process as if the decimals were not present. 6 times 2 is 12. We'll put 2 down, okay? We'll raise our 1. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Just like the previous problem where we had to give credit to the decimals and however many digits they had behind them, we have to do the same thing over here. But last time we only had one decimal. This time we have two decimals, and we have to count the digits behind every decimal. Okay? There's one digit here, and there's one digit here. So I have two digits after my decimals. So what I have to do is I have to move my decimals, all right, two spaces in front. Okay, so I could have in my answer I could have 2 digits behind the decimals. So this is where I move my decimals to. So you see the same digits multiplied 3 different ways. Okay, so you all gonna help me out with a problem, and the numbers they're not gonna be the same digits. They're gonna be different digits, but it's the process how we use it that will give us the correct answer. Let's try it. We have 71 times 3. 3 times 1 is 3. We know this. And 3 times 7 is 21. Since we are working with whole numbers, okay, our job is done. Now imagine, right? Imagine our answers required us to multiply 8.5 times 4. All right, 8 and 5/10 times 4. We're gonna go through the process. We're gonna say 4 times 5 is 20. We are going to put a 0 down. Okay, we're gonna regroup our 2. We're gonna say 4 times 8 is 32, plus the 2 is 34. Right? And just like you remember, there's 1 digit after the decimal. We have to make sure in our answer there is 1 digit after the decimal. Okay, and our answer is 34 in this one. All right, so I could think to myself, if I'm multiplying numbers with decimals, right, my answer, right, is going to be different and much less than the previous answer that had all whole numbers. Okay, let's carry on. So I have two numbers, 75 times 3. All right, 7 and 5/10 times 3. I'm sorry, 3/10. Okay, so I have 7 and 5/10 times 3/10. All right, so help me out. 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, we're gonna put 5 down, and we're gonna regroup our 1. 7 times 3, okay, is 21. 21 plus 2, 21 plus 1 is 22. Okay, now just like we did the first problem, we have to give credit to the decimals and the digits behind them. I have 2 decimals. I also have 2 digits behind both one each. I have 1 digit behind each one of the decimals. So that means I have to move my decimals 2 times. Okay, so I'm moving 1, 2. There have to be 2 digits behind a decimal. And you ask Mr. G. Hook, how come the answer is smaller than one of the product? Well, that's how decimals work, because decimal is part of a whole. That's why your numbers will always be less. All right. So you guys gonna work a few on your own. Okay. All right. You guys gonna work a few on your own. All right. Then I will come up and do the problems myself, and you will see if we have the same answer. This time we're just going to use decimal numbers. We're not going to use whole numbers. All right. So take a few minutes, work out these problems, then we'll come back and we'll work them out. All right. The board is yours. Is it a few minutes yet? Not yet. Okay. All right. All right. All right, it's been a few minutes. I know it's been a few minutes. I've been standing there back there for about 10, 15 seconds. All right, let's go. So we have 4.5 or 4 5/10 times 4 whole numbers. Okay, let's start. 4 times 5 is 20. Put 0 down. I'll raise the 2. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 2 is 20. We do have one digit after the decimal. So we're going to need to have one digit after a decimal. Doesn't really matter if it's 0, it's just there has to be one digit after the decimal. All right, let's move back over here with this 5 6/10 times 5. We'll say 5 times 6 is 30. We'll put 0 because that's in the ones place. And we will put our 3 on top. We'll say 3 times 5 is 15 plus 3 is 18. Right? There's one digit after my decimal, and I will put one digit after my decimal for my answer. Okay? Now let's go back here. Scary looking, isn't it? Don't worry about it. We're okay. We're okay. All right, so let's start with the furthest number in the back. We'll say 5 times 2 is 10. We'll put 1 down. We'll put 0 down and raise our 1. We'll say 5 times 8 is 40. 40 plus 1 is 41. We'll put the 1 down and raise the 4. We'll say 4 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 4 is 19. Okay? I tell you, multiply as if the decimal is not there. We'll deal with them at the end. Now, let's say we have to put a placeholder, right? Then say 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 8 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Okay? And we're going to add both partial products. 0 plus 1 plus 9 and 1. Okay? Now, what was the rule that we talked about when it comes to decimals? Right? There are 1, 2, 3, 4 digits after the decimals. Since there are 4 digits after the decimals, okay, we need to give credit to that and say that we have to put 4 digits after the decimal in our answer. There has to be 4 digits after the decimals. All right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 digits after the decimals. There has to be 4 digits after the decimal in the answer. Okay, so we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and our decimals are going to be here. Okay, wish you guys were here. All right, but you're not. That's okay. We're still learning. All right. If you have questions, comments, or if you have any connections, right? Connections. All right. Make sure you write them down. The Schoology, your quiz is attached on that days folder. Should be day 3. All right. And I will see you next week. Have a good day.